Hi friends, welcome to your fifth and final video. Today we are talking about law of cosines. I'm not gonna lie, I only have 20 minutes to knock this out before lunch and a whole bunch of kids start coming in here, so I'm gonna be talking fast like the wind, okay? I'll try to not be too crazy, but I am gonna talk pretty fast. Okay, so I've got issues here with the tripod already, whoa. Okay, so the law of cosines. If you recall, and I've started most of the lessons like this, you've got angle, 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 side, angle, 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 side. You've got the bad word. You've got side, angle, side, and you've got side, side, side. Well, angle, angle, angle can't. We can't use that to determine a unique triangle. There's just too many different possibilities. You actually have to have at least one side length to be able to have this work. You need to be given at least one side length. So for these three cases right here, we use the law of sines. Okay. For these two cases, as we're going to learn today, this is law of cosines. And then after you use the law of cosines on these problems, a lot of times you end up using the law of sines to find the next piece. I will show you what I mean. So we're going to use the law of cosines to solve oblique triangles when we're given either side, 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 or two sides and their included angle, which is commonly referred to as side, angle, side. So here is, well, let's see if I can get both of them on there. Here is the law of cosines in both forms. You're going to want to use this one over here when you're trying to find a side length. Let's write that, to find side lengths. So if you're looking for side A, side B, or side C, here it is. You're going to use this one over here to find angle measures. So just like with law of sines, there were two different ones, two different versions. This one has two different versions, and it depends on which one you're trying to find. I'd like to point out that this is the same formula 3 times. It just depends on which part you're trying to find, but notice it's really the same thing. So here's side A. If it's side A, it's the cosine of angle A. If it's side B, it's the cosine of angle B. If it's side C, you guessed it, it's cosine of angle C. If this is an A, then you've got B squared and C squared, the other two. If this is B squared, you've got the other two, A squared and C squared. If this is C squared, you've got the other two, A squared and B squared. And then this right here, minus on all of them. Minus, in this case, it's BC, because that's what these two are. It's AC, because that's what these two are. It's AB, because that's what those two are. So if you're trying to memorize this formula, which you don't have to, I'm gonna give them to you, but just so that you kind of see how they work, you've got A squared, then you've got to have the other two, minus 2 times these guys, and then times the cosine of the angle across from the side you're finding. And that's true for all of them. Now, if I were to take this formula right here and rearrange it, I would get this one. So let me do that for you. Let me scoot this down and I'll do it for you right here so you can see. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. Now, if I was trying to isolate cosine of A right here, I want to solve for cosine of A, then I would subtract these dudes over. So I'd have A squared minus B squared minus C squared equals negative 2BC cosine A. Now, I want cosine A by itself, so I'm actually going to divide both sides by negative 2BC. So I'm going to divide by negative 2BC, divide by negative 2BC. And I'm going to rearrange this. I'm going to write cosine A on this side. Cosine A equals, so that all makes a 1. And now I've got this. Okay, now I'm going to multiply through by a negative to get rid of this negative out here. It's going to make this one negative, this one positive, and this one positive. So it's going to look like this. Which is exactly what we have right there. So it's just a manipulation of, let me see, sorry, I'm having tripod issues. It's really just a manipulation of this formula to get this one. Okay. I feel like this is not where I want it to. Oh, better. Okay. I'm having tripod issues. It's in my way. So these guys, when you're trying to find a side, these guys when you're trying to find an angle. So let's get down here and get to a problem. Now, here's the most important thing about law of cosines. I'm going to write it above it, and you're going to write it too. And now, I don't throw around words like always very often. So when I do and I underline it, I mean business. Always start with largest angle. We're always going to start with our largest angle. I do not throw around always often. So when I do, you better be listening. So we're always going to start with our largest angle. All right, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. So let's draw this. So C is this obtuse angle. So I'm going to draw. Your triangles don't have to be like uber accurate, but it does help if they are obtuse when they're supposed to be. It just helps you visually to see it better. And then it doesn't matter what A is or which one's B, but across from angle A, I've got side A, and across from angle B, I've got side B. So I have side, angle, side right here. So this is a law of cosines problem. I can't find the third angle. You know how on the other ones we could always find the other angle because we had two angles? Well, this time I don't have two angles. That's why I need this. That's why this one is not a law of sines, because I don't have enough angles here to do this one. Okay, so what I want to do is find, let's see, what do I want to find? Let's see, I've got cosine, or I've got an angle. Do I want to find side C? Or do I want to find, I've got BC. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the side opposite the largest angle here. So I'm going to go find, I've got enough info to do this. C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of angle C. Now, how did I know to use that formula? Of my three up here, I chose that one because I'm given angle C. So that means I want this one, and that means I'm going to be able to find the side opposite it. So I'm finding little c because I've got the angle C. Okay, so C squared. This is really just kind of tedious substituting in, and then you have to be a master at your calculator. 28 squared plus 17 squared minus 2 times 28 times 17 times the cosine of 105 degrees. Now I'm actually gonna take the square root of all of that nonsense. I probably should have written that first, sorry. 28 squared plus 17 squared minus 2. Now, I do not want you to calculate little bits and pieces of this and write in a whole bunch of crazy decimals right now. I want you to calculate it one time. So I'm gonna bust out my little calculator, and I think I might actually even show you my calculator if I can. Nope, I can't. What if I zoom out? Oh, that was in. Okay, oh, wait, okay. Hopefully you can see my calculator. Okay, so first of all, let's make sure that we're in degrees, and mine is. And so there's different ways to do this, and every calculator is different. It kind of just depends on, some screens show you more stuff. I tend to do underneath the radical first and then use my answer button. I actually use my answer button a lot. So here we go. I'm gonna do 28 squared plus 17 squared minus, use parentheses, friends. I'm subtracting this whole thing. So minus 2 times 28 times 17 times the cosine of 105 degrees. Now, some calculators are going to put a parenthesis in there. Make sure you close the parenthesis and then put the closing parenthesis to what you had. Now, I hit equal and it gives me that nonsense. And now I am going to take the square root of, oh shoot, I didn't want to do that. Mother. I didn't say anything. I don't know what you're talking about. The square root of my answer, and that's 36.3. So let's round this to hundreds. So this is 36.32. Woo, we just found C. Two angles to find still. Now, here is where I'm gonna come back and zoom in so you can see a little bit better there. Okay, so now basically, if I'm looking at my problem, I've got this side, and now I need to find one of those two angles. Once I find one of them, I'll be able to go back and find the other one. You could use law of cosines again, and you could use one of these dudes up over here to go find the angle. Go knock yourself out if you want to do that. But what I prefer to do personally is once I have an angle and the side opposite it, I like to use law of sines. So I'm going to come back over, I'm going to bust out day one notes here. Do you remember back when I said you use this one for solving for a side and you use this for solving for an angle? I'm going to use these guys to help me solve for an angle. So it's the same formula you've been using, it's just flipped upside down, reciprocals of all of it. And now I'm going to use this. Basically, I'm going to use the C one, and I'm going to use it to find angle A. All right, so that's where I'm coming from, and I'm going to write that. You're going to watch me do that now. So here is this one, boxer up. And now I've got the sine of C over C. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm going to scooch. Sorry. I'm going to go sine of A over A equals the sine of C over C. To solve this, oh shoot, I'm out of space. I'm going to multiply the A up. So the sine of C over C times A. And now A is going to equal, don't lose your minds, sine inverse, because to get an angle by itself, I have to do the inverse of that. Sine inverse of the sine of C, angle C, which is 105, over side C, which is 36.32, times A, side A, which is 28. Woo! Okay, now I'm going to double check everything I just did. So A over A, C over C, this is what I know, and I know A. I'm going to multiply him up and over, and now I don't want sine A, I want angle A. So I'm going to do the inverse of this nonsense and substitute it in as I go. And then I'm going to get my angle is approximately what? All right, I guess I'm going to zoom out, yeah, and go back to letting you see me do my calculator. So this is yucky. I'm not going to lie. You're going to have to be a parenthesis king or queen. So usually what I like to do is I like to do all of this in here, and then I take the sine inverse of that answer using this here answer button right there. That's what I'm pointing at right there, the answer button. Okay, so it's going to be like this. Sine of 105 divided by 36.32. Sometimes I hit equal right there, times 28. You don't have to, but you could put parentheses if you wanted. But so that gave me, that's the inside in here. Notice that's a number between -1 and 1. It has to be able to take the sine of it. So, or the sine inverse of it. So now I'm going to do sine inverse of the answer that I've got, and that's going to give me 48.13. 48.13 is angle A. Degrees. So that's that one. Now how do I find angle B? B is equal to 180 degrees minus 105 minus 48.13. So B is approximately, and it is an approximation because that's an approximation. Let me zoom in for you. 180 minus 105 minus 48.13 equals 26.87. So B is approximately 26.87. Sorry, this is all bunched up. I did poor space planning. 26.87. Okay, hopefully that gave you a second there. I'm gonna move on. If you need to hit pause so that you can gather yourself, you can, but I only have like 6 minutes or 7 minutes until the lunch bell's gonna ring, and it's gonna be madness up in this classroom. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna go a little faster. So my triangle, I'm gonna draw it up here to give myself just a little bit more space. Again, it's obtuse, so I'm gonna go obtuse on it. I'm gonna go obtuse on its butt. Okay. It's really weird talking to yourself. Okay, so I'll call this B, and I'm gonna call that C. So C is 10, B is 15, and I've still got angle, side, angle. And so angle, side, angle. I'm sorry, I've got side, angle, side is what I've got. So in this situation, I have angle A. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna use this formula because I've got angle A. So that's what I'm gonna start with here. So it's going to be a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine a. And so it's going to be a equals, and I'm going to do the square root at the right time here so that I don't have to write an extra step. And this is going to be 15 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 15 times 10 cosine of 115 degrees. Extend my little thing there. And so now it's going to be calculator time, and again, I will let you see my calculator work. Okay, so I'm going to do the square root at the very end. I'm going to do the insides, and then I'll do that. Squared plus 10 squared minus parentheses 2 times 15 times 10 times cosine of 115. Close my parenthesis. You might have to close 2 parentheses, and I get what it equals. And now I am going to take the square root of the answer, and that's going to give me 21.25. A lot of folks are going to forget to do that last. Oh, that's a 6. Dang it. Make this a 6 right here, please, cuties, because I got to round it up. All right, so there it is. Okay. Now, I'm going to use law of sines to find angle B, let's say. So I'm going to go sine of B divided by B. Oops, I'm going to zoom back in for you. Sine of B divided by B equals the sine of A over little a. So the sine of B is equal to the sine of A over little a times little b. So here I don't want sine of B, I want angle B, so I need to use my inverse. Oh shoot, I should be writing this in. A is 21.26. Angle A is 115 degrees. Sorry if I jacked up your beautiful work. And then B is 15. I'm gonna slow down and make sure I didn't just mess that up. Sine of 115 degrees over side A, which I've got, times B, which is right. Okay, so now it's a calculator problem. Zoom out, ooh, in, out. Clear, okay. So again, I'm gonna do inside the parentheses, get that answer, hit equals, and then do my sine inverse. That's how I roll, okay? 115 divided by 1.26 equals that, times 15 equals that. Now notice that is between -1 and 1. It has to be for me to be able to do sine inverse. So sine inverse of my answer, this is 39.75. And that is an angle measurement in degrees. Okay, and now to find the missing angle, I go the measure of angle C is equal to 180 minus 115 minus 39.75. Okay, hold up, wait a minute. $25.25. That's the measure of angle C. Okay. Now we've just done 2 side angle side ones. We need to do 1 side one. And there's a decent chance the bell's gonna ring, but that's okay. Let's see here. All right, this should be a side. All right, here we go. Always start with the largest angle. And I'm not kidding on this problem. If you don't, when it's side, if you do not, you will wish that you had. You're gonna have issues that you're gonna have to think about things that you don't want to think about. It has to do with inverses and the whole quadrants of the inverses and how your calculator works. And so if you're like, oh my God, I hate it when she talks about that stuff. Let's make this C, sorry. If you hate it when I talk about all that, well then you want to start with the largest angle. If you don't want to have to think as much, start with the largest angle. Now you may be asking yourself, how do I know which one's the largest angle? So how do you know which one's the largest angle? That's a really good question. The largest angle is always going to be across from the largest side. So 42 is the biggest side, so C is going to be the largest angle. So we're going to find C. Now, how are we going to find C? When we're trying to find an angle measure, we use these. So I'm going to use this one right here. Okay. So if it's a C here, I'm going to have a squared plus b squared minus c squared. Okay. So I've got this in my mind, I hope. Let's see if I can go do it. So the cosine of C is equal to a squared plus b squared minus c squared over 2ab, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to double check myself. I think that's it. I know that's it, but I'm still double checking. Okay. So now it's going to be C is equal to cosine inverse, because remember I don't want cosine C, I want C. So I have to do the inverse, and it's going to be substituting a whole bunch of nonsense. 30 squared plus 38 squared minus 42 squared divided by 2 times 30 times 38. This is parenthesis madness. But it's the hardest part. Okay. So now, when I do this fun calculator problem, do you think I can get this in before the bell rings? It's gonna be close. Probably not. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna start inside the parentheses, get this answer, and then do the cosine inverse of it. So here we go. I'm gonna do parentheses of my numerator, and then close the parenthesis, divided by parenthesis, all this junk, parentheses. So you're gonna see parenthesis madness here. So it's going to be 30 squared plus 38 squared minus 42 squared. Close the parentheses. If you want, you could hit equal right now. A lot of times I do. Divided by parenthesis 2 times 30 times 38. Close the parenthesis, and I get that nonsense. Now take the square root. No, not the square root. Take the cosine inverse of that answer, and you get 72.26. 72.26. Now, if this had been an obtuse angle, because I'm finding the largest angle first, if angle C, if there was going to be an obtuse angle in this triangle, it would be angle C, because it's the largest side. The fact that I just got an acute angle tells me this whole triangle's acute. I'm going to say that again. Because C is my largest side and I'm finding angle C, if I was going to have an obtuse angle, it would be this one, and I would have just found it right here. The fact that this came out to be acute tells me the whole triangle's acute. If I don't start with the largest angle, I run into issues because of that right there. That's all I'm going to say about it. Just know you need to start with the largest angle, because if it's obtuse, it'll tell you. If it's acute, it'll tell you, and then you don't have to think about the rest of it. Okay. So now, how am I going to get the rest of this? What am I doing? Oh, so we just found an angle. We need one more angle. So now I'm going to go back over here to my friend law of sines, and I'm going to find one of my angles similar to the way we've been doing. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to find, it really doesn't matter. I'll find angle A. So I'm going to go, let's box U. Okay, so the sine of A over little a equals the cosine of C over, no, good gracious, where did cosine come from? Wow, that's a sine. And then this is over C. Okay, so the sine of A is equal to the sine of C over little c times A. So A is equal to sine inverse of this nonsense. Sine of 72.26 degrees divided by 42 times side A is 30, parentheses A. Okay, here we go. So you can see my calculator. Okay, so I'm going to find everything inside first and then use the answer button and sine inverse. Okay, so inside here I've got sine of 72.26 equals that divided by 42 equals that times 30. Again, you could do all of that without hitting equal in between every time. That's what I like to do. Whoa, I don't know what just happened. Try again. Do over. 2.26 divided by 42 equals that times 30 equals that. Okay, now I'm going to do sine inverse of that answer, and I get 42.26 42.87 degrees. How do I find my last and missing angle? I do, no, what do I do? What am I trying to say? Oh, 180 is equal to, wow, writing it this way this time. No, how about we do this? Miss Haas, because they know what they're doing. B is equal to 180 minus 72.26 degrees minus 42.87 degrees. B is approximately what? And it is an approximation because we're using approximated values for it. .87 degrees. Okay, there she is. All right, friends, I know we're gonna skip the last one. You can try it, and I think we may be doing it in class on Thursday. So let's go ahead and leave that one blank. And now you can go and try all of these glorious problems right there. So that's your assignment for 6.2. Okay. All right, lovies, thanks for watching this far. Hugs, kisses, bye.